Today, I am going to be talking about Mark Langan, an artist who completely changed the way that I think about materials and sculpture. What first caught my attention was that almost all of his work is made from corrugated cardboard, which is something that most people see as disposable. But instead of treating cardboard as cheap or temporary, he transforms it into detailed works of art that look almost impossible to create from such a simple material. Throughout this presentation, I'll talk about who he is, how he creates his work, what makes his art unique, and why his art resonates with me personally. Mark Langan is a self taught artist based in the United States, and what's interesting is that he didn't start his artistic career right from the get go. He spent more than 20 years working in transportation before eventually becoming a full time artist. And I think that's inspiring because it shows that creative careers don't always follow a traditional path. What makes his story even more impressive is that he built his reputation using cardboard, a material that most artists wouldn't even consider. But rather than investing in expensive materials like bronze, stone, steel, he focused on developing his creativity and technical skill. And his success demonstrates that artistic vision is often more important than the materials itself. What makes Mark Langan stand out is his ability to take a material people normally throw away and turn it into museum quality work. Most people look at cardboard and see packaging or trash, but he sees texture, pattern, and design opportunities. Another thing that makes his work unique is that he doesn't try to hide the cardboard. Instead, he embraces its natural qualities. The corrugated grooves, rough edges, and layered surfaces become important parts of the final piece. His work also challenges traditional ideas about sculpture. When people think of sculpture, they usually imagine stone, wood, clay, or metal. Langan proves that meaningful artwork can come from unexpected materials. His work reminds us that creativity isn't limited by what we have available, it's about how we use it. One of the most fascinating parts of Langan's process is how much work goes into each piece. He usually begins with sketches and experimentation before deciding on a final design. Even though cardboard seems simple, creating these pieces requires a lot of planning and precision. He cuts layers, bends, and glues individual pieces of cardboard by hand. Instead of covering up the grooves, he uses them as individual elements within the composition. He often arranges the cardboard in different directions to create contrast and movement. I also love how he embraces imperfections. Small dents, logos, markings, and irregular textures often remain visible in his work. Rather than viewing them as flaws, he incorporates them into the artwork. This approach makes each piece feel authentic and gives the material its own voice. These examples show the incredible range of work that Mark Langan creates. At first glance, many people wouldn't even realize that they're looking at cardboard. The level of detail and craftsmanship makes the material almost unrecognizable. It almost looks as if it is made of wood. Something I noticed is how he combines graphic design, sculpture, and texture into a single piece. Some works resemble signs or logos, while others are more artistic and expressive. Even though the subjects vary, they all share the same careful layering and attention to detail and texture. Looking at these pieces together also highlights how versatile cardboard can be. By changing the direction, depth, and arrangement of the material, he creates completely different visual effects while using the same basic medium. In many forms of art, texture is a supporting element, but in Langan's work, texture often becomes the main subject. The grooves inside the cardboard create depth, rhythm, and movement that draws the viewer's attention. Layering is especially important because it creates shadows and highlights without requiring paint or color. As light hits the surface, the texture changes depending on the viewing angle. This makes the artwork feel more dynamic and interactive. I also think it's interesting that logos, markings, and imperfections become a part of the composition. They remind viewers of the cardboard's original purpose while also showing how it has been transformed into something completely different. The more closely you look at his work, the more details you discover, and I love that. So, why his art resonates with me? The reason I connected with Mark Langan's work is that it reminds me of building things out of cardboard when I was younger. Like a lot of kids, I used cardboard boxes to make forts, models, and random creative projects. Seeing someone turn that same material into professional artwork feels both nostalgic and inspiring. His work also changed how I think about everyday materials. Before learning about him, I probably wouldn't have considered cardboard to be an artistic medium, but now I have realized that almost any material can become art when approached creatively. Most importantly, his work reinforces the idea that creativity matters more than expensive tools or supplies. That's a message I find motivating because it encourages artists to focus on imagination and problem solving rather than resources. This piece is my favorite work by Mark. It's his cardboard interpretation of Roy Lichtenstein's Cloud and Sky. I find most impressive is how he creates an entire landscape using only cardboard and its natural textures. The corrugated edges become the outlines of the waves in the clouds, while crushed cardboard creates the texture of the inside of the cloud forms. And even though there's almost no color variation, the piece still feels rich and visually engaging because of the layering and depth. I also like how the artwork demonstrates Langan's ability to balance simplicity and complexity. From far away, the image is easy to understand, but when you look closely, you notice the intricate construction and countless individual pieces that make up the scene. To me, this piece perfectly represents what makes his work so special, transforming an ordinary material into something unexpected and beautiful. So, overall, Mark Langan is an artist who shows that creativity can transform even the most ordinary materials into meaningful works of art. His use of cardboard challenges traditional ideas about sculpture, highlights the importance of texture, and encourages viewers to look at everyday objects differently. What I appreciate most about his work is that it proves artistic value comes from imagination and craftsmanship rather than expensive materials. Studying his artwork has made me more aware of the creative possibilities that exist in things we often overlook. Thank you.